Flightless is an 8-bit fun up-down left-right puzzle strategy game. What makes this game most difficult at the start is actually just moving the direction. If you notice how the map is slightly tilted, it makes the motion of going up, down, left, and right a little bit confusing to start off with. This puzzle game is simply a motion game where you have to move boxes or navigate through enemies to reach a certain goal. What makes this game a little bit unique is if you notice the enemies themselves actually move as you move, making it so you really have to choose the directions you go. The whole point is to get these little diamonds to be able to progress to the next map. Now this next game, which goes by Tank Force, is a surprisingly fun third-person tank shooter game where you start on opposite sides, charge at each other until it's the last man standing. Something awesome that they implemented in Tank Force is vehicular weak spots. So if you notice, I'm aiming for the back chassis because that point takes increased damage. Also, something I use right here is that little tree in front of me. I'm actually using it for cover. If you'll see in a second, he actually shoots that, saving my health and allowing me to destroy him. There's actually various maps in this game too. For a free game, they put a lot of effort and a lot of detail into this. From the games that I played, I saw a desert, a snow, and a jungle map, which is amazing for a free game.
Load faster!
And again, for a free game, I can't stress how much work they put into this. With a ton of skins to choose from, some you do need an in-game purchase to receive. There's customization, you can have the damage, how fast you reload, armor, how fast you move, and how good you're able to traverse the terrain. Mahjong Magic Islands. What can I really say about a remake of a game that nobody really wanted a remake of? For those hardcore Mahjong fans out there, this might be just the game for you. They implemented a storyline, little quests, little achievements, gold you can earn, and even a map you can go down to repeat the levels you've already beaten and progress further. The actual mechanics of the game itself are still just the same. You just match the tiles and dig deep until they're all gone. Now, Towards the Pantheon is a game that I can really get behind. You start off like many 8-bit classic overview games, where you kind of just wake up in a situation and you don't really know how you got there. To me, it really reminded me of classic Zelda, where you can walk around and discover different things to help you progress throughout the game. I want to speed this up a little bit, just to get through the monotony of walking around. You can interact with a lot of the environment, and you have to keep your eyes peeled so you can find things like that on the wall. So keep your eyes peeled for buttons and such to get around the map. Now notice how I said that blue door is locked? That's going to play an important part in this game. In fact, the main purpose is to find different ways to get those keys. Blue keys open blue doors, green keys open green doors, so on and so forth. Metonymy, the game that will have you asking yourself, what the fuck, the whole time.
Won't you hear her, Colin? Look at her, she's fading. Colin. Colin.
Colin! Colin, for fuck's sake, Colin!
So right here, it's clear to see that you play as a character named Colin. At least that's what I thought at first. But the storyline just continues to get progressively more convoluted and confusing because you never really know what's going on.
We need to go back.
Boom. Teleport to unknown mystery badass who's slain a bunch of these demons. Now here's the moment where I thought, awesome, I get to actually do some battle and some combat in this game. No, not so fast. So at this point is where the game turns in from a possible badassery to a very terrible walking simulator. And we're walking, and we're walking. Also, never let go of the forward key or you'll get all discombobulated. Holy Mother, baby Jesus, we're finally here.
Who now sits on this throne now that Zapatra has fallen to this city? It must be one of the messengers, or perhaps one of their chosen. But who?
This whole game is more of a comic book put to animation. You don't ever actually get to do anything besides walk around, but it does have a pretty decent storyline, and the stuff you see is pretty neat. Speaking of games with not a whole lot you can talk about, is Scream Collector. You pretty much just click the house as much and as fast as you can, and you collect screams. When you collect screams, you can upgrade your mansion and what's around the mansion so that you can collect more screams, and that is it. You just continuously collect screams. There's really no strategy. It's a free game. It's what you'd expect from a free game. Now Hereafter is another fun game to play. It's a side-scrolling 8-bit shooter, which kind of reminds me of old school Mega Man. You start out as a robot who's randomly awoken and have no idea where you are. You come across another sentient program who essentially tells you that your creator has grown bored with his old experiments and has locked himself deep in his laboratory. So the entire goal of this game is to find your creator and be like, WTF, mate? And even though the music's kind of a retro 8-bit instrumental, I really dig it, you know? Do-do-do, do-do-do, do-do-do. Now, Song of the Terminus is a game I can really see myself playing, if I was able to understand what they were saying. This game's pretty unique in the fact that you get to play as two characters simultaneously. One is this guy who is a fire-wielding warrior, and the second is this girl who is an ice-wielding warrior. Now, during this game, I chose to play as her the most because I liked her abilities to freeze, slow, and self-heal. If you saw on the right there, they have banter between one another, but again, I just can't understand it. And I'm assuming that when I start, they tell you what my goal is. But the language barrier is the biggest holdup on this game for me. After 10 minutes or so of running around, I did figure out what it was I was supposed to do, which is just kill all the enemies on the map, and the area that's being held back from you will open so you can progress. I'd say this game mostly resembles if you were to take Diablo and Paragon and mash them together in an open world experience. Grace of Zordon is kind of what you would get if Yu-Gi-Oh! Had a love child with chess and they dropped it on its head a couple dozen times. In fact, if this had come out a decade earlier, it might have even been super popular. You draw these cards from 3 decks of 10 to summon monsters, magic spells, traps, so on and so forth, and you play them depending on your mana bar to the right, because each one has a cost. I won't tell Hearthstone if you don't. As you saw, whenever you pull these monsters out, depending on their abilities, you have them traverse across the map towards each other to try to do damage to their hero. In this one, I'm playing as a warrior, and my enemy is playing as a necromancer.
Nothing will stop me. Let's show them.
I'll just add that the asteroid manifest we bought from Cat N says that the richest rocks all have Nuco transponders.
But from this week's Steam releases, I think my favorite game was Space Epic Unlimited.
We've taken every precaution. We're all alone. But still, keep your eyes open and your ears up. I worry.
There is a whole lot I like about this game. It gives a unique aspect to a hunter-gatherer type game, calming music, and something visually impressive for a free game. The whole point is to destroy these asteroids and collect this golden ore, which you can use as a resource to upgrade your ship upon death.
And offload.
Thanks for the orb, huh? And steer clear of multi-security, huh?
One of the things that really spoke to me in this game is that when you're flying around, you actually get the feeling of weightlessness and like you're actually moving around in space. They've also incorporated PvP to where there's an enemy team trying to collect the same ore you are, but you're able to destroy them with your basic weapon or upgrade to more advanced weaponry.